Alright, so good evening everyone. Hi guys, a very warm welcome to today's online seminar. Thank you so much for joining us today. Guys, are you all excited? Shall we go ahead and invite our guest here? What do you say? Yes, says Siddharth Singh. Yes, says Ajinkya. Menak says wonderful. So, sir, are you able to hear us?
So the objective of today's session is to recognize tone in writing in an RC passage, which is a written piece of matter, and then analyzing tone by studying important elements in writing. So let's identify those 3 or 4 elements which typically convey a tone in a passage. Okay, so I'm sure it's easy to identify somebody's tone when somebody talks to you, or 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 you're listening to somebody. He's not directly talking to you, but just by listening to what he says and his facial expressions, it's easy to understand the tone of the person, right? Do you guys agree? Yeah. Okay. So now let's look at this. Let's look at this example. Let's take. So I guess most of you are students and or have just passed out, no, or just graduated from colleges. So I'm sure all of you have friends, right? A gang of friends, very close friends, 5 or 6. You study together, you freak out together, you plan and discuss everything together, right? A small gang. Am I right? How many of you have such gangs? Right, almost all of you, right? So now, is it common amongst friends to use bad words to call one another? You won't call your friend by name, but use a bad word before his name, or call him by the name itself, right? A bad word, right? All of you do that, right? Okay. Now let's say there's a guy Rahul, and Rahul has a gang, and and then they're all friendly. But Rahul, let's say he goes to a public place, a railway station or a mall or somebody, and there's someone else uses the same words, right? Uh, will it be friendly? Will the tone be friendly? The same words, will it have the same effect on Rahul? No, right? So it's not the words, but it is something else. So what is that something else that differentiates? His friends use those words, it's okay. Someone else whom he doesn't know, a stranger in a public place. Vinisha says attitude, relationship with that person. Yeah, but what is happening? Yeah, Akshay says feelings. Right. What else? What is difference? Now it's so words are same. Right. Jagbir says tone. More than that, even if he uses in the same tone, the same style of speaking, still there is something else, right? Ashwani says expression and so on, right? Right. Now let us let's go a step further, and let's say Rahul is planning to take his GRE, right? And let's say a few days from now, and his best friend in the lobby asks him, "Hey Rahul, what score are you targeting for in cons?" And Rahul says 170. Then this friend of his says that 170. If you just get if you just get 160, I'll give everybody in this hostel a party, right? So, do friends joke amongst each other? Is it very common, right? So, what is his friends? Is the friend teasing him, right? Okay. Now, let's say someone else in the hostel whom Rahul really doesn't like, and they don't like each other. Yeah, Yamini, you're right. It's mocking. You're right. Huh? He's not critical. He's just mocking. Right. Now, someone else comes from the same hostel whom Rahul and that other guy, let's say guy B, doesn't. They don't really get well with each other. And B asks Rahul the same question. What are you aiming for? And Rahul says 170. And then this guy, whom Rahul really doesn't like, says the same thing. Oh, even if you get 160, I would be very happy. So in this, when this other guy says, if you get 160, I would be very happy, what is the tone here? This is the guy whom Rahul doesn't like, right? So Ashwani says mocking. Yeah, Surya got it right. It's sarcastic, right? In this case, the second case, it will be sarcastic, right? Now let's go a step further. Now let's say Rahul gets angry, Rahul gets disturbed and then he says, "What's your problem?" Huh? And the second guy now says, "Hey, I was just joking. I know you are a JE guy and you're cracked JE, you got 570. So I was just kidding." Right? So is the second guy now praising Rahul? Is he appreciating Rahul? He says, "So what's the tone? What's the tone there?" Oh, Priyanka, not euphemism. When he prays, he says, "Oh, you got 570. I mean, you are a JE ranker, and is he really appreciating Rahul? No, right? Okay, okay. So it also the words are same. The words are same, and it's so there is something more. No, the it's so what's can you guess what is so even if words are same, what constitutes tone or attitude? What exactly is happening? Why does it sound different? If even if you use the same, yeah, why is it different? Fundamentally, if you go even a step further down, what is different? Okay, so so most important is what is the author's intention on the target to him whom he is trying to communicate, right? Bullet B. So each of these cases, right? When the friend talks to him, his intention is different. When somebody who doesn't like to him, the intention is different on Rahul. And when a stranger talks to Rahul, using the very same words, the intention is different, right? And what the person who tries to speak to you, if whether it's in the writing form or in a spoken form, what effect he wants on you, what does he want you to learn, understand, or start thinking, that affects the tone of the piece of conversation. Do you guys agree? It's primarily the intention of the author on the reader, which what and what impression the author wants the reader to carry along with him. That typically determines the tone of the writing. It's not always the words, right? Do you agree? Fine. So what we will do is what we'll do is to go through this systematically so that you appreciate what are the elements that come into play when we identify tone or attitude from a passage. We'll go little by step by step. Okay. So let's start with some quick example to get warmed up. So look at this sentence, which was quoted by Oscar Wilde, an author, an English author of literature. So in this, what is the tone here? Joy, sarcasm, critical. What is the tone here? Karan says, Karan, Ishwarya, Sarvesh, all of them say this sarcasm. Ashwani says critical. Uh, Sai says joy. Most of you say it's sarcasm. Very few takers for joy or critical. Hmm? Uh, Now, typical, yeah, most of you have agreed that it's sarcasm. So the difference between typical critical and sarcasm would be in sarcasm, there will be an element of fun, trying to like pulling somebody's leg, as we saw in the Rahul's example. So there is a bit of mocking, a tone of mocking, an element of uh, trying to mock at somebody, and that becomes sarcasm. So those who got sarcasm, it's right. So it's so the answer is sarcasm. Okay, try this. What's the tone here? Read this passage, the second one. So admiration. So all of you, most of you agree that it's admiration. Only service feels it's poignant. Poignant is something thinking deep would be poignant. Like something pains you, very deep sense of pain, that is poignant. Is there a deep sense of pain or here, Sarvesh? Surya says excited. Is he really excited or is he praising? Is he praising Paul's abilities? Is he excited that Paul has caught a fish, or is he admiring Paul's skills in catching fish? Yeah, Vinicius says he's praising his style or he's admiring. Oh, right. So it's not admiring, it's not excited. He's not excited by the catch, but he's excited by his admiring his skills. Right. So that's a subtle difference like this, and you have to get it correct. Let's see more. Okay, now it's like a typical slightly long GRE passage, GRE style passage. Okay, read this and let me know when you're done, when you're finished reading. Okay, Surya is finished. Okay, just let's wait for others. Aman done. Bhupika, Vincia, Sonal, Invit. Okay, so most of you have finished. Vamsi, Deepan. Okay, so most of you have finished. Okay, let's see the question now. Okay, so what is the tone in the first para? Okay, so most of you are saying appreciative, praise of Archimedes, or it's praise or appreciation, right? It's very clear, right? Okay, fine. Now let's see. So it was quite clear here. I think nobody has doubts. The words used. So the words used are typical of the kinds that you would use when you want to praise somebody, right? Unprecedented, superlatives are used, and that he has high influence and so on, right? So typically tend to use superlatives when you praise or appreciate somebody. Okay. So now what is the tone in the second para? Read carefully. What is its tone or attitude? Yeah, Nikhil, you got it right. Yeah, Kunal, you can go ahead, type your doubt. Yeah, so option A is what? Okay, okay. There's some people feel it's enthusiastic, whereas most feel it is doubting. Hmm? So, so let's. Uh, so is he not doubting here when he says whether such a weapon could be built? Isn't the question whether Archimedes actually built one is in the question, since it was far too ahead of his time. So is it not being skeptical or expressing a doubt? Right? Those of you who selected disapproving or enthusiastic, right? He's directly asking a question, no? And he doubts whether he could have actually built it. The author is not worried whether such a thing is possible or not, but whether Archimedes built it or not. Oh, yeah. So Shrey has a doubt. Yes, Shrey Jain, can you type your doubt? Yeah, Akhil, the answer is C, casting a doubt. Yeah, go ahead, Shrey. Can you type fast? Shrey Jain's question is why can't it be A, enthusiastic the way that it was way ahead of his time, right? But he would have been enthusiastic. Can you guys, other guys, can you help me out here? Why is enthusiastic not the answer? See, had Archimedes really built it and it was way ahead of his time, then in that case we can say that the author would have been enthusiastic, right? Something, let's say there is this pillar in Delhi, right? Iron pillar in Delhi, which does not rust. Even today, people do not know, or the way pyramids were built without, earth movers and heavy equipment in those days. Then it would be appreciative, or you'd be enthusiastic that they did this, they did that, even when there were no heavy equipment, right? But here, the author himself is doubting whether such a thing was built or not, right? So in the second para, he does not show any enthusiasm. Got it? Okay, Siddharth Singh says, why is it not D? Doubting. Yeah, that's the answer. No? D is the answer. He's doubting. Okay, so in this para, distinctly there are two attitudes. In the first para, he is he's appreciative, and in the second para, he is doubting. Okay, somebody is asking why is it not C? Vamshi wants to know why is it not casting doubt on whether it was invented at all. Okay, there is a subtle difference between the two. Casting a doubt on whether it was invented at all. Casting doubting Archimedes' skill in inventing it. Right. So which of the two is more appropriate? Casting doubt on whether it was invented at all, or is doubting Archimedes? From this sentence, he's saying whether Archimedes built one uh, is the issue. He's right. Okay, so let's see the. So he's casting doubt on whether it was invented or at all. He doesn't say that Archimedes couldn't have done it, someone else could have done it. He feels it was not possible at all for somebody to build it. Do you see the difference? He's not doubting Archimedes' skill at all because he feels at that time nobody could have done it at all. So if you see the statements, whether Archimedes actually built one is the question. So it was too far ahead of his time, of the time. It is not that if he had said it was beyond Archimedes to have done it, then he was doubting Archimedes. Like for example, the example that I gave when that friend says to Rahul that if you get 160, I would be happy. So he's there, he's doubting Rahul's capability. Can you see? Can you see the difference? But here in this case, he feels that nobody can build such an instrument, a laser kind of instrument in those times. Right? It is really impossible to do for anybody to do that. So it is not. It's not that he's doubting Archimedes' skill here, but he's doubting whether anybody could have done such an instrument in those times. Do you see the difference? Yeah, can you see? So you have to be very subtle like this, because especially the first para he's praising Archimedes, so he's full of awe for Archimedes, and the second para he feels that it's not possible whether such a thing would have been built, but I don't think he doubts Archimedes because it's too ahead of its time anyways for anybody, right? You got it. So be very observant and very discreet in understanding the attitude or the intention behind the author. Just as in real life, the intention of the speaker matters. So in this case, the intention of the author who writes the passage matters. Okay. So here is Nish, and he has a doubt. Isn't option D more appropriate in that context? It isn't really impossible to divert sun's race. Yeah, possible, right? So it's not. So he's not doubting Archimedes' intention. He's doubting that somebody could do that at all, right? Okay, go back. Sorry. So C is the answer, right? C is the answer. It's not D. I'm sorry. D is not the answer. C is the answer. Yeah, C, Ashwini, yeah, C is the answer. Right? Okay. Not the skill part. Fine. Not on Archimedes' skill, but whether the instrument itself was invented or not. Fine. Okay. So it's the tone that helps you understand the attitude of the writer on the subject. Okay. So let's move on, move ahead and understand the elements that get into the tone. So let's go step by step. Let's go one by one now. Okay, so essentially there are four elements. It's better that you get conscious about it. It's not that when you answer a tone related question when you read a passage, it's not necessary that you will check this, but these are elements that you have to be conscious of, and then that will help you in answering this tone type questions. So let us look at what these 4 elements are. So first and foremost is diction. Diction is the choice of words that are used in the passage by the author. Okay, let's look at this simple example. Uh, what is going on here? As against what on earth is going on here? Right. So can you see the difference here? This is more an inquisitive kind of question. A sense of the author is just, the person asking this. It's just a curiosity that he has. Whereas here, there's an element of shock or surprise in this statement. Do you agree? So whatever comes after this, most likely would add would add to the author's sense of shock or surprise, right? So the choice of words used are one indication uh, of the tone of the author's tone. So let's see some more examples. Okay. So what do you think? Like if you just see this line, so what do you think uh, is the author likely to talk about when you come across this line? Would he be awestruck, appreciative, passive about the standoff? Yeah, so most of you think it's appreciative, right? So most likely the passage that follows would be appreciative, right? So this is diction, okay? The manner in which words are used. Let's move ahead. All right, so it's very clear here. He's appreciating. The second thing is the author's point of view when he writes a passage. The views that he expresses. One is the words that he uses. The second thing is the views that he expresses is an indication of the tone. Let's look at this small passage. What do you think would be uh, the author's tone here or his attitude in from this passage? What can you sense based on the words used and the point and the views expressed? Right. Nikhil says criticizing. Ashwani says concern. Yeah. Now, yeah, these are very subtle here. The two are very subtle. Is he criticizing or he's stopping at expressing a concern? Nikhil, uh, Vamsi says realistic. Is it realistic here? Okay. Nitin says alarm. Typically, alarm is when the author talks about a consequence. Something dangerous is going to happen if we don't something. Then you would say it is alarm. Is it fine, Nitin? If you don't do X, then there'll be some consequence. Then it's alarm, right? Okay. So there's also a difference between most of you are saying criticizing, yeah, or is it concern, right? But okay. So it's mostly it's concern or a displeasure that he's expressing. So here in this case, you cannot say the author is critical. Let's see if I have that. Okay. So typically when somebody is critical, when somebody is critical, he would he would get into the details of why he is critical and he would try to logically justify. Okay, suppose let's say you take an economic policy, right? Currently, let's say demonetization. So there are different articles that are coming out, right? Some supporting the government, some not supporting demonetization. So if you see those who are not supporting demonetization, they talk about aspects, the fallouts of demonetization, right? They talk about GDP, fall in GDP, and then they supplement it with numbers. Am I right? So when you're criticizing somebody, you pick up 2 or 3 fault points and also justify it vehemently, right? But when you just stop at, there is demonetization and it can cause problems, then you're expressing concern. Do you guys see the difference between displeasure and critical? Right? Critical, you'd go a couple of steps ahead and logically point out, that this is wrong and I'm not happy about it. Whereas when you just say I'm not happy about it and you express this can cause problem, then it's you are expressing displeasure, or you're expressing a concern. Now, is this fine? So there is very subtle difference. Just the same thing, like when you crack a joke, uh, then it is sarcastic. But your joke is actually pointing out a problem. Then it's not mocking, but it is sarcastic. There's a difference. So likewise here, right? Critical and displeasure, there'll be a subtle difference. Likewise, somebody asked alarming. In alarming, there will be an else cause. If we don't do this, XYZ will happen, and XYZ all will be dangerous. In that case, it's alarming. Fine. Nikhil Gupta has a question. Law is blind. Isn't it criticizing? Yeah. So it's law is blind. Yeah. I would say it's a It's, I don't know. It will be a mocking. What do you guys say? Nikhil has a question here. Law is blind. Is it criticizing? It's certainly not sarcastic. I think I would call it critical. Yes, it is criticizing. And then typically you give examples. Look at this case. X was right, yet he did not get justice. This law does this, but a lot of tribals are suffering because of it. You'd go ahead and justify it. Is it fine, Nikhil? That he's making an assertive tone that law is blind in this country, and he would typically give a couple of examples, right, to justify that. Fine. Okay, so there is diction, there is the author's viewpoint, which determine tone. Let's move on. Here's another example. Read it and let me know. So it's a combination of the words used and the ideas expressed, author's point of view in this example, which will determine the tone. Can you tell me at tone/attitude? Minor, don't go by words, keywords which are there in the passage. Look at the words used and what effect he's trying to get on you, the audience, or himself. So many of you have chosen mesmerizing. Yes. So that's the right answer, mesmerizing. The others are distractors. If you see, because dreamy and energizing has been used in the passage, but that is not the effect it has had on the author. He is typically impressed very much by the scene, or by that particular tourist place, and that has had a mesmerizing effect on him, right? So it is not. We are talking about the author's tone, what effect the place had on the author, right? So the author is mesmerized. Is this fine? The effect. So don't go by keywords. He's Tejas and Abhinandan. They're asking, why is it not dreamy? Why is it not dreamy? He says the place is dreamy. Do you agree? Abhinandan, Tejas, the place is dreamy. right? But those are words that he has used to describe the place, right? So it's not that the effect on the author has been that he's dreaming. You see? Fine. Okay, let's move on. Uh, so he's so these are all descriptors. This is diction, the words he has used to show what the place has done to him. It has a dreamy feel. It has romantic. It is romantic. It has incredible views, right? So we cannot say. So that is the effect that it has caused on the author, and he's mesmerized by it. So don't go by these keywords here. Okay. So coming thus far, we know that the point of view that the author expresses, the details that he chooses to pick, and the manner he chooses to narrate, the words that he uses, the diction that he uses, that is an indication of the tone, right? Okay, let's move on. Let's continue and see more. Okay, third is syntax. The manner in which words are arranged in a sentence. So this is same as somebody uses a bad word, your friend uses a bad word and calls you by a bad word versus a stranger calling you, right? So there is some amount of the way in which the words are arranged. So let's look at this example. Huh? So okay, look at this, just a single line. Was demonetization worth it? Just by this statement, if you come across this statement, what do you think would most likely be uh, the article, the author of this article? Suppose you come across this with a title like this, the author of this passage, would he be doubtful? Would he be investigating? Or would he be mocking? Most likely. Okay, there are answers for everything. But most of you are selecting doubtful or mocking. So it very much depends on mocking is if he makes fun, like what you see like some articles on Facebook, or if he makes fun by using clever words, then it would be mocking, right? But if he gives numerics and so on, like if he gives considers a few parameters and then investigates, then it would be an investigative article, right? But most likely here he would express doubt, on this. Okay, but but you know that either he will be doubting it or he'll be mocking at this. Let's look. Okay, but either case, it'll be an analytical piece of writing that follows this. Now let's look little ahead. The same thing, if you arrange it this way, demonetizing was worth it versus was demonetizing worth it, right? Look at it's just a rearrangement of words. So what is the tone here, right? All of you say it's assertive. So can you see the difference in both? Both had, it was the same words. Demonetization was worth it. Was demonetization worth it, right? It was the arrangement of words which made a big difference, right, in the attitude of the author. So here he sounds assertive, but in the previous one, either he would be mocking or he'll be mocking, or he'll be investigative or doubtful. But either case, it was not an assertive thing. But here you know now that the author has a stand, and most likely he'll prove that demonetization was worth it. Right? Do you guys agree? So the other thing is not just the words that you pick, but how do you place the words in the sentence? Now, that's the third element uh, in tone. So what do we understand from this particular example? That syntax or the manner in which the words are arranged help you in understanding the tones. So one we saw in the previous one, what words are used. Here we understand how they are arranged. That also impacts the tone. This was an example of that. Fourth element is the level of formality expressed in the text. So let's look at this example. Uh, there are two here. Why can't the authorities do something about the mosquito manage? mosquito menace. And the second one, with increasing case of dengue, it's high time the authorities took action to control the mosquito menace in the city. So in the first one, he's informal. Now these are authorities, so his authorities are typically, I mean, the local government, the municipality of that town. So they are a formal structure. So ideally, you should not be using this kind of a language uh, against a powerful establishment of power, right? Ideally, you should be using something like this. So this is more of a formal style, whereas this here is informal. This is what the language you would use when if you a few friends are discussing, right? But if you write an article in a newspaper, if you write something like this of the first type, there may be reactions, right? But if you write like this, somebody might consider your case. Do you see the difference? So the formality used uh, in the passage, that would also contribute to the tone of the passage. So these four elements you have to see. One is, so basically it is as from everything that we discussed so far. Tone is tone is the effect or the influence that the author wants to create on you, the reader. In that, to achieve that effect, he would use certain words. He would arrange the words in a particular manner. There'll be some amount of formality. He'll play around with that, and he'll express his point of view, his viewpoints on the subject. And using a combination of this, you have to arrive at the tone or his attitude in the passage. Is it fine? It's not, is it clear now? These are fundamentally the four elements. Okay. So let's try this one out. It's not that you have to use this element and try, but you have to be conscious of these four elements as you read and try to predict the tone, attitude, whatever the question is. Read this and let me know. Let's try this out now. Really a GRE like passage now. Okay, let me know after you read what is the author's tone. Right? Okay, so you guys are getting it right now. I think almost everybody has selected concern, which is, I'm very happy to see that. Vinicia, Kunal, Nakul, Akhil, Simrat, yeah, Karan, Bhumika, yeah, great. You guys got it right. Somebody asked, why is it not depressive? That's Ashwani. Uh, why is it not depressive, guys? Those who said concern, why is it not depressive? Depressive would be, yeah, if it, I think if the author expressed what effect it had on him, then it would be depressive. Like we saw the tourist place example, he was mesmerized by it. The author was, it showed the effect that the incident had on the author, right? So here the author is not talking about the effect it has had on him, right? So it's not depressive. Depressive would have been the effect that this incident would have had on him, right? But here he's expressing a concern. He's merely giving these as examples that a lot of these things are happening, and what are we doing about it? Is it fine, Ashwini? Right? So if it was depressive, he would have used ideas like this makes me sad, or this can make anybody sad or scared, and words like that. Yeah, Ajinkya says, right, mental or emotional effect, which uh, the author would have expressed that in that case. You're right, Ajinkya. Is it fine, Ashwani? He doesn't talk about what effect it has on him or anybody else. Right? Yeah. So the points that the author chooses are very. Saurabh also has a good point. He says that it's not negative. Uh, it's not that negative that he does not. There is no. It's not that there is no hope for the future. He's right. So he's expressing a concern, and the author feels that it can be solved. So it's not, that's a good point, Saurabh. Let me see some other answers. Yeah, Vinicia says he's empathetic. That's also right. He's people who are defending these paths, they are getting killed, and he's showing empathy for them, right? So again, that's fantastic, guys. I think, yeah. So these are different elements by which you get it. As long as you get it right, it's fine. So one more. Let me see one more. Was that okay? So good. So good thinking. So I think you're getting a good perspective. Let me see if anyone else has some good answer. Uh, right. Ajay Parikh has one more point. He says it is depressive if the problem has no solution. That's correct. Yeah. But here he has hope that it can be solved. You're right. So good that you guys are getting it. So that most of you got it. And yeah. Okay. Okay. Now here's a different one. Read this and let me know the tone. Yeah. Okay, cool. All of you almost got it right. Happy to see that. Parth, Shreyasi, Yanish, Gayatri, everybody has got it right. So tell me, what is the difference? Now you know it's anger. What is the difference between the two? The same theme, the incident is same, okay? Whereas the first passage looks like concern, this passage uh, is of anger. So now we have seen four elements, right? So it's not that all the four elements will be different, but what is the difference between the two passages? Those of you who got it correct, both of them, just think for a moment. Don't start typing immediately. Right, Purvaja is right. She says words that are used. Outrageous is one such example. That's correct. We saw that Jill Mehta also says the same thing. Caustic word like outrageous has been used. Sarvesh is right. Last para, Sarvesh or Kunal? Kunal says last para. That's correct. It shows anger. Will not cover in silence. हम लोग चुप नहीं बैठेंगे and all that. So it's again sign of anger. Okay, what else? So the words used here are making a difference, right? It is showing anger. We won't keep quiet and so on. Huh? What else? Yeah, I think it's the words that are making the difference. Not the ideas are pretty much the same, right? That those people are getting killed there and here. Ideas are same. Uh, right. It's the words that are making a difference. Huh? Right? Let's see if any more. And what about the tone? Abhinandan has a point. It's an informal tone. Yeah, that's also true. The tone is also different here. It's the previous one was more formal. We should do something about it, right? Whereas here it's like typical college students kind of language. Students get angry with the management, right? You'd use this kind of language. Abhinandan, you're perfect. Good observation. Author emotionally connects, says Saurabh. In both he's emotionally connected, I would say, right? Empathetic both for the people getting killed. Both the authors are very emotional about it. So that was same. So yes, guys, good point. Ajinkya also said it's informal. Yeah, the second one was more informal. Right. Purvaja says, does anger usually take an informal tone? Possible. I mean, there are no rules as such, Purvaja, because this is not like maths, right? That there'll be certain things, and it is just a matter of how you sense it. There are these four elements: the words used, the ideas expressed, and the narration style. And from that, you have to make a guess. So there cannot be rules that if it is angry, will it be informal? Not necessarily. You can. I think we can write. There are a lot of. It depends on the author's expertise. People can write angry speeches and in a formal way. There are expert speakers. You would have seen the parliament and all. So Atal Bihari Vajpayee and all. There are speakers who can uh, talk on pretty sharp issues without sounding angry, right? Some military generals, it'll sound, it will be formal, but there'll be anger, right? So it depends, right? Okay, fine. So let's move on. So I think you're getting a hang of it. Uh, Anger, yeah. So all of you guessed it right. More of author's personal and words like outrageous. You all guys guessed it right. So the level of formality helps in understanding the tone, right? So I think few of you got this aspect right as well, that there's a difference in formality in the two. Now, to summarize, the finest understanding of the author's tone is gathered from the words she uses, the points that he holds on the subject, the manner in which the sentence is formed, and the level of formality. So it's a function of all this that determines finally the tone of this thing. There's no formal, while it is a function of all this, there are no formal rules of like no mathematical rules of what would be the tone, what would be the relation between this, and when you that you can say that this is a particular tone. So that you'll have to guess it first and then see the options and arrive at the right answer. Is this fine, guys? So fundamentally, it is these four. So it's not that. So be conscious of this when you come across a tone question, and and uh, and answer them. Okay, let's see some questions. The last one. Okay, these are all the same. Okay, tone. Okay, okay, fine. Okay, guys, I hope it was useful and I could answer as many questions that you had, doubts. Right? So fine then, guys. I'll take leave now and hand over to the organization. Organize all the best for your GRE and RC.